going to test it as we go. So, from SmithsonianMagazine.com, when some elephants raid farms, they might not be after a snack. They could be looking for medicinal plants. Oh, that's a forest elephant. Okay, that's not a bush elephant. So this is probably belonging to one of those populations over in maybe part of the Congo, the Central African Republic, maybe even part of Nigeria, Togo. Um, so we're still simply testing the sound at the moment. Seems to be a healthy bull, at least by the picture. He's got rather short tusks to an extent. Should I scroll down? So many farmers across the Western African nation of Gabon. Oh, okay. So this is north of Cameroon as well as Angola. So share the same grievance, waking up to trampled crops after nighttime raids by hungry forest elephants. But some elephants aren't just after tasty snacks, as some observant farmers have noticed the animals often seek out only the stems and leaves of banana and papaya plants. That's funny. Okay, so checking for sound. That's funny. Papaya. And abandon the nutritious fruit which lies broken on the ground. That makes farmers even angrier. Yeah, I bet it does because these animals are having to take in at least 150 to 200 pounds of food each day, or a little over 90 to 110 kilograms. Okay. All right. It seems to be things are sounding better. So let's continue. Um, Can't understand why they just damage the fruits and don't eat them. Oh, well, that's different. I was expecting them to coming in and feeding on bananas and papayas. That is they're wasting it like this is worse than what we see with brown bears doing to salmon over on the coast of Alaska, over the Kamchatka Peninsula of Russia, or even parts of the northern island of Japan, Hokkaido, where they'll simply tear off the fatty skin of the salmon, and as long as it's a plentiful salmon season too, and go immediately for another fish. This is they're taking the fruit and just wasting it. That is shocking. Oh, wait, what do we got here? This by Steve Nigama, is conservation scientist at Gabon's National Center for Scientific and Technological Research in Libreville. But why would elephants eschew the fruit? Forest elephants in Southeast Asia are known to eat certain plants when they're ill as a kind of self-medication. Hmm. Um, Now this isn't the forest elephants in Africa are not the same species as forest elephants, what it's referring to over in different parts of Malaysia, Thailand, Vietnam, and Cambodia. That is referring to different subspecies of Asian elephants. But I haven't heard of them wasting fruit in this type of way. They're still eating it, I believe. And recalled research suggesting that banana and papaya leaves have medicinal properties. Could it be possible, he wondered, that Gabonese farms are not just buffets for local elephants, but also pharmacies? There are also different species of banana and papaya, and they're just associated with one specific species of each. Together with other scientists in Gabon, Europe, and the United States, Igama has now found evidence for this idea. Their study, published in Ecological Solutions and Evidence in October, reports that African forest elephants, Loxodonta cyclotis, are more likely to seek out papaya and banana plants when they're suffering from gut parasites. In 2016 and 2017, what's interesting about this is that African forest elephants are usually seen as, after they feed on many species of plants within, let's say, the Congo or maybe some part of Benin or Togo, they'll go over to certain mineral deposits, and these minerals help dilute the toxins in the different species of plants that they're feeding on. But apparently, that's not enough for these gut parasites, which is very interesting. So they're having to raid these different farms and simply obtain the seeds from the plants, I'm assuming. In 2016, 2017, Nagama worked with farmers to study crop breeding elephants in several small villages in Crystal Mountains National Park, a rainforest enveloped area near Gabon's Atlantic coast. After the animals carried out their heists, Nagama would follow their trails and collect dung samples. He also gathered samples from plants the animals had nibbled on, including bamboo, cotis herbs, ferns, fiscus, banana, papaya, cassava, and palm. Later, scientists analyzed the roughly 90 dung samples in a lab for evidence of gut parasites, such as worms. Having a parasitic infection, they concluded, made elephants 16% more likely to eat banana stems and leaves, and 25% more likely to nibble on papaya plants. So they're not even going after, okay, this makes sense. So they are eating something, but it's not the fruit. It's specifically the stem and the leaves of these plants. That is interesting. They're obviously going to have a different type of nutritional value eating that part of the plant compared to the fruit itself. It's definitely going to be much higher in certain other nutrients, but I do not know what those nutrients are at the moment. Maybe this will tell us. More research is needed to conclusively say that the crop rating behavior is medicinal to nature, says Aloy D. Fryman, a postdoctoral researcher at Brown University in Rhode Island, who studies self medicating behavior among chimpanzees in Uganda. So, this is Uganda is just east, I mean, not east, west of Kenya. So, it's on the opposite end of Africa in this instance, or Central Africa. Technically, Gabon is Central Africa. Crop raiding elephants might just be more likely to carry parasites because they spend more time near people and livestock, for instance. I have no doubt elephants possess complex medicinal repertoires, and studies like this are an important step toward uncovering them. That is interesting. That hasn't occurred to me with elephants and um, coming into proximity with these different cow herds or maybe pigs. How do they react with these different species? Because essentially we're talking about domesticated wild boars and oryx. So, what, how would the different diseases that these animals bring to these regions affect them? But it would also be something that would be of interest for like how ancient oryx, maybe other bovids, would interact with the diseases of ancient mammoths, other ancient elephants of the Pleistocene or the Ice Age, as well as even different species of mastodon. So this is closely related to that too. This is quite interesting. I'd like to see more of this. So let's head over to the next article from IFLscience.com. California diver spots rare deep sea king of the salmon, just 4.6 meters, or what is this, 14 and a half feet below the surface. Usually found hundreds of meters, or wow, down in the twilight zone. This fish isn't a salmon, but it is quite regal. So thousands of feet down. What do we have here? I'm not familiar with this species of fish. We're not surprised it's called a king when it looks this fancy. Let's see. A diver exploring California's Monterey Bay was recently treated to a phenomenally rare encounter with a normally deep sea dwelling creature, having spotted a juvenile king of the salmon, Trachypterus altivelis, swimming in waters near the surface. To say this is rare isn't an overstatement. The king of the salmon is typically found far from shore and at significant depths, and that can extend all the way to 900 meters or 2,953 feet. What's it doing up here? That's concerning. putting it firmly in the category of bizarre beasties found in the Twilight Zone, not somewhere where we humans tend to hang out. However, Ted Judah, who regularly goes on diving trips with his wife, spotted this particular fish off Maccabee Beach on December 30th at only around 4.6 meters or 15 feet under the surface. The water was so clear that I elected to scan around below as I kicked out, and I'm glad I did. I saw this silvery knife blade undulating thing in only about 15 feet of water, moving west parallel to shore. I said to my wife, "There is something amazing here." Oh, oh, wow, he's right next to it. Interesting. What's it doing at the surface? It's also much smaller compared to, I thought it was a much larger species of fish. This is actually quite small. I wanted to stay with it, but I felt like I was harassing it. It had this keen ability to orient itself so that its narrowest profile was always facing me. I tried to swim alongside to get the profile, and it would rotate away from me. I'm so honored to see it. Judah also posted images of the fish in the hopes that someone could help to identify it, having queried whether it could have been a juvenile or fish. Oh yeah, that was something that I was guessing it might have been. Also known as the doomsday fish, another deep sea creature. So,
Uh, the doomsday fish? That just seems like a strange name.
well, that would make sense for certain angler fish deep under the ocean, especially what's the certain females do to the males of some species. Luckily for Judah, it turned out there was a Monterey Bay Aquarium marine biologist in the comments. Kevin Lewin, a senior collector who has been with the aquarium for 25 years, shared the post with Californian ichthyologist, a fancy name for a fish biologist, who concluded it was a juvenile king of the salmon and only the second one seen in 2025. Wow. That okay, um that's a shock. So while both are ribbon-like in appearance, king of the salmon and oarfish belong to different scientific families. But even when Judah's spot was successfully identified, others in the comments still had questions, mainly why on earth is it called king of the salmon? Fair question, considering it's, well, not actually a salmon. Yeah, actually, that is a good question. Unlike the earthquake triggering legend surrounding the doomsday fish, the king of the salmon's name has more positive origins. According to a video for the Monterey Bay Aquarium Research Institute, it was given its name by the Mucka, an indigenous people of the Pacific Northwest coast who believe the rarely seen fish lead salmon back to their spawning grounds. Indeed. Interesting. Okay. Well, this was a very unique fish. Still wonder what he's doing up here. They never answered
Wanna do
that.
the video?
Oh, sure. Juvenile. Oh, wow, it looks a lot better in, this footage.
Yeah, it doesn't look like the picture exactly.
Don't know why specifically certain species of fish, especially deep sea fish, their fins, their dorsal fin moves in this way. It's almost like an electric current.
Okay,
Seems like part of its body was almost disconnected, but it was just connected by a thin membrane. This one looks much paler, or it's just the light hitting it.
reminds me of a sardine.
Yeah, it does. Or if it's related. I mean, that's sounds like a goofy question, but the thing is that you can have, um different species of animals that look very distinct from each other, but are quite closely related. Um, okay, so let's see. From WTOP.com, marine experts to bury stranded 10-ton humpback whale on Delaware beach. Oh, okay. So I'm guessing this was along, Delaware Bay. Now, it could have been Chesapeake Bay. Now, Chesapeake Bay is on the opposite end of Delaware Bay. So, Delaware Bay is situated on the northeastern coast of Delaware, whereas Chesapeake Bay is located between the states of Maryland, Virginia, and Delaware. And then it hits the District of Columbia, too. A dead 2-year-old humpback whale washed ashore in Bethany Beach, Delaware on Thursday. When it came ashore, Suzanne Thurman with the Marine Education Research and Rehabilitation Institute, a group that responds to marine life in need, went to the beach. So let's see. The whale was actually on our radar because it had been sighted 2 days prior to coming in toward the beach. The dead whale washed up in Delaware, and a necropsy team found subdermal hemorrhaging and a hemorrhaging
Emerging?
hemorrhaging and a broken jaw on the whale's right side. Well, I mean, if it's beached, I would think there would be some a negative impact on the whole specimen, but maybe something else occurred. Thurman said while they did their best to observe the um, okay. Whale's condition from land, it was dangerous to do an up close examination. It's being moved by the waves, and in this case of this animal, it was 32 plus feet. And so it weighed an estimated 20,000 pounds or more. So if it were to roll on top of us, this would be the end of us. Um, yeah, so when it comes to different, populations of humpback whales, you can have it where, these populations will be of different sizes. There's around 14 different populations of humpback whales around the world, and in this region, this is probably one of the, Gulf of Maine populations. So, humpback whales in general can reach over well, referring to the males, around 48 feet in length and weighs somewhere around 38 to 39 tons, 48 feet, so pushing somewhere around 14 to 15 meters. So let's see. Another risk of going around a whale in the water is that the animal is a major food source for sharks. Oh, I never realized that a humpback whale hmm, in shallow water could be at risk from the smaller species of shark in the region. Now, in this region, animals like the great white sharks, they're extremely rare. They're rare worldwide. Actually, I would think orcas would be a bigger concern than any great white shark population at this point. So let's see. Once on land, Thurman performed a necropsy on the animal, which revealed the animal had possibly been struck by a ship. Oh, yeah, unfortunately, that occurs. With the ports of Wilmington and Philadelphia not far away, Thurman said instances of ships striking whales are not uncommon. It's also a migratory pathway for large whales, and so the combination of the two makes for more collisions than we would like to see. One questions about how it died were answered. The next question was, what do you do with the carcass of a 10-ton whale? Yeah, not explode it like what they did back in the 1970s with the carcass, I think, adjacent to the beaches of San Francisco, some part of California. They, I don't think they put it inside of the whale. I think they somewhat dug an area underneath the carcass. Anyway, when they finally, set it off, you had chunks, I think, flying over, like, 1 to 2 miles away or 2 to 3 kilometers. I think so. A couple of cars ended up getting destroyed in the process due to the whale blubber. So, that was quite unfortunate.
Why does it sound like we're watching a movie?
Yeah, it was pretty funny, and the reporter was really calm about it. It's like, "Oh, we're just going to see what happens." And, if this doesn't work, because he's talking to the guy that's in charge of the project, "Are you going to put more dynamite?" "Yeah, that's probably what we'll do." I think it was something to that, effect. It was to just a supposedly a quick way to discard the whale, but, I mean, it that is what happened, but the seagulls were happy. Anyway, let's keep going. Let's see. It doesn't get towed back out to sea for a variety of reasons. One being that it could become a shipping hazard. A shipping hazard? How would a whale carcass because it's going to float? Uh, and that becomes a liability for whoever does the towing. After the necropsy, it's no longer an intact carcass. It would be pieces, and it would be not really possible to tow it, nor would it be safe from a human health and safety aspect of things. Thurman said when a whale dies at sea, once it sinks to the bottom, it becomes an amazing source of food and nutrients for the ecosystem. Well, obviously, but um I think they're trying to figure out what to do here as well. I always wonder
So
about this.
blowing it up actually works better.
Yeah, it seems that way. So the decision was made to take the safest route and bury the animal in the sand. Thurman said doing so also allows the whale to provide nutrients to organisms living in the sand, which he said is more beneficial than moving the animal to a landfill. I wasn't expecting that to occur. Um, that would add a whole lot of bad odor. Thurman's team attached rigging to the tail of the animal so heavy machinery could drag it into its final resting place. It's a big hole, so they have to dig the hole bigger than the actual animal. And they go down as deep as they can until they hit the water table. Thurman said, fortunately, the whale could be buried in the sand. If whales wash up in bays where sand beaches do not exist, those animals will be taken to landfills. Oh. Wow. Okay, so that's where some of these stranded whales and other places around the world are going. If moving an animal would be too dangerous because of the whale's location, the animal would be left to decompose in place. These are such magnificent, beautiful creatures, and because of their size, when they strand in an area outside the beach realm, it's going to have its own set of unique challenges to
Why
face.
not just chop them up and put them back at sea?
Well, that's what I was wondering. I mean, I don't. How long does it? Is there something major that prevents the sinking or causes the buoyancy? So that's my question too. I it's like I didn't understand that with
Well,
the other
but if you
whales.
chop it up, why would it be still buoyant?
Oh, what's doing it is the blubber. That's why animals like polar bears have extremely good buoyancy is because they have blubber. So that's the problem. Sheesh. Okay, well, that was unfortunate for this whale. Let's head to the next article. So from abc.net.au, guessing it's coming from Australia. Rare dinosaur mummies help scientists recreate what the prehistoric creatures may have looked like. So either this is the same one or well, the Leonardo, the Brachylophosaurus that was discovered back in 2000 or 2001 over Montana. A lot of preserved skin was found in this animal. When they put it through a CT scanner, they found even parts of the digestive tract that were somewhat still intact, and even different preserved bits of vegetation. So, giving a big glimpse into what this animal was eating right before it died. Let's see. So, two fossilized mummies unearthed by scientists in Wyoming in the U.S. have revealed a surprising detail. A thin layer of clay preserved the outer body contours of the duck-billed dinosaur. Scientists now believe the species had hooves on its feet. Um, Unless this is a new theory and there's a bit more evidence for it, it's been highly debated with hadrosaurs as to whether or not they had hooves. And the iguanodontids. You could say that looking at how the forelimbs were structured, and especially looking at the toes, it was like they were constructed into a stiff rod. And outside of like with the iguanodontids, they had their thumb spike and then extended pinky finger. The hadrosaurs lost that thumb. Duck-billed dinosaurs don't have thumbs, and now they're just left with a distinct pinky. So it is possible you could say that they had a hoof-like um, foot structure, but still not in the same way like a zebra or a horse in general.
That's what I was gonna ask. Is that like how the horses evolved over time with their hooves?
Yeah, it's you could say that earlier horses were a bit closer to something like a duck-billed dinosaur, but even then, a hadrosaur. Like, the fingers outside the pinky are fused together, but it still would be a softer surface than something like a horse's hoof.
No, I meant how the horse's hoof evolved from
Oh, yeah, having, like, 4 or 5 appendages to, uh, 4 technically 5 toes, and then they just gradually, decrease to that 1 toe, which became the hoof of every horse and zebra of today, onagers. So, um that's a big question with these duckbills, except the duckbills did not lose the amount of toes. Well, technically they did, taking out the thumb, but technically were still the 3 toes intact. They were just fused together. So researchers have unearthed a pair of dinosaur mummies that seem to have been preserved in an unexpected way. These dinosaur remains are different from the wrapped mummies of Egypt or natural human mummies that get accidentally preserved in bogs or deserts. I wouldn't. compare these, but, true. Mummified dinosaurs are so old that their skin and soft tissues fossilize. Scientists use these rare remnants along with dinosaur bones to recreate what these prehistoric creatures may have looked like. Scientists have been uncovering dinosaur mummies for over a century. We find one with skin that far back in the 1920s, even? Like, even if it was referring to like the 1890s or the first decade of the 1900s, that's even more of a shock.
Yeah, but didn't you say that they've been finding stuff they already found?
True, but when it came to preserved skin and mummies like, let's say, Leonardo, um, I think they were coming up after like the 1950s. But before that, at least to me, that's unheard of. So that's a big shock. I'll have to take a look into that. Many of them, including a duck-billed dinosaur mummy discovered in 1908, hail from an area in eastern Wyoming in the US. Okay, so this is a big shock. In the new study, scientists returned to the so-called mummy zone and found new remains, including the mummy of a duck-billed dinosaur that was only a few years old when it died. This is the first juvenile of a dinosaur that really is mummified, said Paul Serino, who found Suchomimus carcharodontosaurus. He's done work on Eodromius Sarcosuchus. Surprisingly, the new mummies seem to have been preserved without any evidence of fossilized skin. Instead, they left impressions of their skin and scales on a thin layer of clay that hardened with help from microbes. This style of mummification has preserved other organisms before, but scientists did not think it could happen on land. It is possible that other mummies found at the Wyoming site could have formed in a similar way, Sereno said. Scientists use these clay templates to paint a clearer picture of what the duck-billed dinosaurs might have looked like when they were alive, including spikes on their tail and hooves on their feet. New findings were published on Thursday. Whoa, 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 what do we have here? So, I think this is skin, and I believe this is part of the bone. I wonder what we're looking at. I'm guessing it's part of the duckbill. Okay, so is there anything, I don't think it mentioned anything about new discovery. Oh, well, let's head over to the next article. So for the BBC.com, baby goats rescued after being dumped in bin. Oh, well, he definitely looks, much more pleased. Oh, no, it's a she.
Well, you
Violia.
know these weren't taco eaters that did this because they just would have cooked him.
Yeah. Um, Violia was struggling to walk, but has taken her first steps. She looks also quite, recently born too. 2 baby goats were found abandoned in a bin just hours after they were born, prompting a heartbreaking rescue, Kent Animal Sanctuary has said. Veterinary practice in Ashford raised the alert when a man walked into the reception with the freezing cold kids. That's what a baby goat is, it's a kid, who were brother and sister, after he found them in a bin at the end of his driveway on Monday. Huh, that's the shock. Vets called Buttercup Sanctuary for goats who found the female goat, Violia, was struggling to walk. The male goat, Bifa, had a lung issue and might not make it through the night. Oh, oh. The pair were bottle fed overnight by a farmer before they were taken to the sanctuary in Bhutan on Chelsea Maidstone, where they were recovering. Look, Bifa nearly didn't make it, still being monitored. Sanctuary spokesman Matt Huggins said rescuers have been involved in heartbreaking rescues, but some left them truly shocked, and this was one. He said rescuers went to collect the goats while the sanctuary team prepared a warm, snuggly, and safe bed for the expected arrivals. As soon as the pair reached Buttercups, they were taken to their bespoke new pen, and the team worked to provide the best possible care. Almost immediately, they snuggled up amongst the thick straw beneath the comfort of a heat lamp. Together, they fell asleep by each other's side, too tired for even a bottle. Yeah, that's concern is that they need nutrients immediately. Since the rescue, Veolia has taken her first steps and is gaining confidence in Bifa's, and Bifa's lung issues are being monitored. Huggins said the pair were not out of the woods yet and have a long road ahead to recover from the abuse that they have suffered and endured at such a crucial part of their lives. throwing a goat at any time into a bin is horrible. Sheesh, they look great. Okay, so let's head over to next article. These, goats grow up pretty well. From BBC.com, raccoon and seals make RSPCA's top 2025 rescues. I'm a bit shocked that over in England, they're rescuing raccoons. Um, I guess being from North America, that's nice. Let's see, but this is, quite a large individual, referring to the raccoon.
Why does the raccoon not seem to have any steak?
Oh, right, or crawfish, fish. An overweight raccoon from Cornwall and 3 seals from Devon. Right, there's seals in the midst of this.
Well, the raccoons will eat the seals.
Or the seal occasionally might eat the raccoon. Are among those recognized in the RSPCA's top rescues of 2025. Charity compiled the list, hoping to share some of its most heartwarming tales of the year. It's just shocking considering raccoons are quite invasive over in Europe, Japan. There might be another country over in Asia, possibly China. But so this is just quite shocking. I would have expected like one of the government's um, just departments to have shot the animal, but they decided to take it in. So, RJ is pretty happy. The charity compiled the list, hoping to share some of its most heartwarming tales of the year. It also revealed more than 634,000 users visited the RSPCA website nationally to report a concern in the last 12 months, with 7,279 visits needed in just the days between December 24th to December 29th. Wow. The RSPCA said it wanted to showcase how animal lovers have helped so many animals survive. Back in November, the charity said it was called to the village of Gwennap, Cornwall. Oh, okay, so this is over in, southwest part of England. After members of the public had spotted an overweight raccoon wandering the streets. When RSPCA officer Abai Kemp arrived to rescue the animal, she found it was 3 times the weight of a healthy raccoon at 11.2 kilograms or 2 first 1 pound? Huh? Okay. Oh, 20. I think that would still be around, like, 23, 24 pounds. Yeah, that's a big raccoon. At the time, Miss Kemp said it was a bit of a surprise to get a call about a raccoon. Charity said thanks to the kind members of the public and a vet, the raccoon was safely captured and taken to RSPCA West Hatch Wildlife Center. I was wondering, um, the problem with releasing the raccoon back, it's not that I don't want him to live in the wild or her, but it's not supposed to be in the UK. There, he received the care he needed before heading off to a permanent home that could meet his need and the strict legal restriction on keeping them as pets. You can have them as pets in England?
And they just ship them home.
And, well, yeah.
It's
Yeah,
not like it's gonna matter with the population we already have.
just send them to Canada or the US. Um, you I wonder how that would work. Okay, I've seen, much, it's definitely not fit raccoon, but yeah, it's large.
I think you've seen larger ones.
Yeah.
Uh, well, it's like, if you're gonna take a picture, you could at least give me a fish.
Is that an
What is
onion?
that?
Looks like an onion. And that's its exercise. Also making the list were 3 gray seals from Devon, who were later named Shakira, Iggy Pop, and Elmer. Like Elmer Fudge? The trio were rescued by the RSPCA and also rehabilitated at Wildlife Hatch Center before they were released back into the sea in December. Well, I'm guessing they're pretty excited to go back to the beach. Oh, yeah, there they are. These must be, older pups. The trio were released back into the wild in December. A grass snake was found by a member of the public in Leicester, Cornwall, after it was caught in a glue trap. The native snake was then rescued and the remains of the glue trap removed before it was released back into the wild. So let's see. Hmm. Oh, so they're even cleaning it up. That's good to see. The trap, this grass snake, was described as cruel by the RSPCA vet who rescued it. I mean, that's true. Glue traps are cruel and indiscriminate, and that's why it's now illegal for the public to use them. Whoa. Wait. Um, like what they use for rats and mice? Um, hmm. When animals come into contact with the glue board, they get stuck by their feet or, like with the snake, by their head and body. If trapped animals are left unattended, they'll die slowly from dehydration, starvation, or exhaustion, which is why. Okay. Oh, that was a weird way to end it. Sheesh. Well, anyway, I'm glad these seals are headed back to the beach. The Toto.
And they need to send the raccoon home.
Yeah, they need to send them to Maine, North Carolina, Newfoundland, even maybe Ontario, Quebec, any of those places. So, from the SierraClub.org, when tigers, sharks show up to hunt seabirds, other sharks steer clear. Interesting. I haven't heard of this before. Smaller Galapagos and gray reef sharks change their behavior, likely to reduce competition or out of fear. What do we have going on here? A tiger shark surges out of the water to bite a fledgling black-footed albatross. Oh, it's too bad. I mean, I feel good for the shark. As the sun rises in the morning and the winds pick up, fledgling albatrosses line the sandy island's edge, facing the Pacific Ocean and flap their wings. Some will get just a couple of feet of air, others will fly far, disappearing into the distance and soaring over the open ocean for years before returning to this island to eventually nest. But others will fly only 15 to 20 feet, lose their lift, and plop into the nearby surf where tiger sharks await. The tiger sharks come to East Island in Paphanwamakuakia Marine National Monument.
I like how you took a deep breath before you said that.
Yeah, it was, a challenging one. The largest protected area in the United States. That is interesting. I mean, I guess that makes sense considering it's usually the marine areas. If you added up that, there's a larger area of water that's somehow protected compared to on land. I'm guessing what it is, it's watching out for maybe illegal fishing in certain areas, and that can be just for illegal fishing of different species, especially the sharks. Could be maybe certain dump sites for people. So there's a variety of things that you just tend to forget that might occur in these different ecosystems. So let's see. Every summer to hunt the birds, the predators arrive with the morning light and calmly cruise the shallows until a feathery youngster with a 6 foot wingspan or almost 2 meters splashes into the drink. Then the suddenly striped sharks, which can grow to 18 feet or a little over 5 meters, take off and breach the surf to snatch the birds. I watch this spectacle most mornings while camping alone and working as a wildlife biologist studying Hawaiian green sea turtles on East Island. I only ever saw tiger sharks in the shallows, never any other shark species. That was weird because over the rest of the atoll, plenty of other sharks swam around, 8 to 10 foot or what's 3 meter Galapagos sharks regularly cruise the surf off nearby Trig Island, for example, and 6 foot or 2 meter gray reef sharks glided by in other places. Um, so was it simply that okay? It used to be tiger sharks, and all of a sudden there's this great variety of other sharks coming in to feed. That's interesting. So you're all the fledglings. Now, an in depth study analyzing the movements of dozens of tagged sharks shows a remarkable thing. When tiger sharks showed up off this island to hunt Laysan and black footed albatrosses, the gray reef sharks stayed away and the Galapagos sharks focused on different prey in another area. But when the seabirds were gone and the tiger sharks dispersed to other habitats, the smaller sharks moved back to the shallows around East Island. The findings illustrate that tiger sharks or nuai in Hawaiian are likely a keystone species that impacts the distribution of other sharks around them. Once the tiger sharks have selected birds as their prey, everything ripples out from that, right? So the tiger sharks are determining what everybody else does because they're the biggest. They are definitely stronger competitors and potential predators of the other two species that we looked at. Where those marine predators may change as um, okay, well, this is a great picture of tiger shark. Let's see. Scientists tagged the sharks for this study more than a decade ago. A team of Myers graduate students went to the Coral Atoll of French Frigate Shoals or Lalo in Hawaiian and caught and tagged 159 sharks of three species between I thought it was three species between okay, tagged wait, something is happening with the sound. Sharks of three species between 2008 and 2010. Acoustic transmitters with unique signals were surgically implanted under the skin and muscle layer of the sharks. 14 different stations set up around the atoll detected the tags when the sharks passed nearby. But analysis of those pings for this study didn't happen for years. I guess that's occurred with different types of animals. I tend to hear it less with marine animals, mainly because just spending more time on the terrestrial species. But, this isn't surprising, especially for different migration routes of whales or even dolphins, some instances. So, I guess they just want to see a few year stretch of where they're going. So I guess this makes sense. Let's see. During the pandemic, Hawaii Institute of Marine Biology graduate student Chloe Blandino's master's project collapsed because she couldn't go out in boats to research sharks. Yeah, I'm guessing, yeah, there was a big impact with different animal populations because of the forced shutdown of a lot of things. She was halfway through her course of study and needed something new. She started digging through archival data and found some interesting patterns visually from those tagged sharks at Lalo. Blandino saw a huge pulse of tiger sharks visiting East Island, and then started looking at prey distribution and identified the seabirds nesting there. After she found that out and told Meyer, he sent Blandino an email with photos of the tiger sharks attacking albatrosses. I was like, whoa, they're going after these birds. It's super cool. Well, I mean, that is true, but it's like it's sad at the same time. A young Laysan albatross gets a few feet of air. One of the reasons for the massive shark tagging effort more than a decade ago was that researchers thought Galapagos sharks, maybe even just a small subset of them, were preying on Hawaiian monk seal pups around nearby Trig Island. Only 1,600 of those endangered marine mammals live in the wild. Scientists wanted to know exactly who was eating the youngsters. Oh, I didn't realize there were that few monk seals out there. That's not good. Also, question is, are there orcas within this area? That can be another problem. Blandino and Meyer were sitting on a treasure trove of data on those Galapagos tiger and gray reef sharks, the three most populous shark species on the atoll. They had questions about the relationships between the sharks. Where did they go? When did they go there? And what prey was available to them at those times? They knew that all three species ate fish. They knew that tiger and Galapagos sharks were more marked competitors, that both species ate marine mammals and birds, for example, and they knew that tiger sharks were predators of gray reef sharks. Based on what they knew, they expected tiger sharks to use habitats near key prey like those fledgling birds and then disperse when that prey was gone. Since tiger sharks eat gray reef sharks, they expected the smaller species to avoid prime tiger shark habitats. And they expected tiger and Galapagos sharks to reduce competition between each other in different ways. Yeah, that's what I would expect too. If the carnivore is eating you, um, you would think that that specific species is going to move, especially if it doesn't have the ability to come up with, a plan to get rid of it. But, yeah, in this instance, appears that they're not, so that's interesting. The team looked at 128 sharks monitored at 14 receiver stations from 2009 to 2011. They used an advanced statistical analysis to find out what areas sharks frequented at different times of day and year and looked at prey distribution in those places. All of my hypotheses aligned with my results. I just didn't anticipate them being so clean and so cool. When when tiger sharks hunted for albatrosses in the summer at East Island, the gray reef sharks stayed away. During that time, Galapagos sharks were often found around Trigg Island, where they cruised the shallows, likely waiting for unsuspecting young monk seals to enter the surf. So between gray reef sharks and tiger sharks, there's this fear dynamic. And then between larger Galapagos sharks and tiger sharks, there's a competition dynamic.
Okay, I wanna feed the person that wrote this article to the shark.
Yeah, there's a lot of eating going on here of like each other, and oh, here's another albatross getting eaten. No, it's definitely. I respect that it's gory, but it's like it just doesn't stop. Gray reef sharks overlapped in areas with Galapagos sharks, likely because the two species often targeted different food sources, including different species of fish, and because small, medium Galapagos sharks probably wouldn't eat the gray reefs. When tiger sharks dispersed from East Island after the summer, the other shark species returned to the area. Oh, yeah, I guess that makes sense. Um, oh, couple more things. So Niall Hemschlag, the executive director and chief scientist of the Shark Research Foundation, sounds like a sandwich, was a bit surprised.
I was literally thinking that.
Yeah, like I think of some sort of a club sandwich or Subway sandwich. Was a bit surprised that the other sharks scattered in the summer because the smaller sharks are faster than the tiger sharks. I mean, the fledgling albatross, it seems like it's such an easy target that the other species would be there to just sneak in and get some of the birds. But he has studied great white sharks off South Africa and notes that when they leave an area, seven gill sharks and bronze whaler sharks move in. We've seen it because they are no longer constrained by the presence of larger great whites, which were not only a competitor but also a predator of them. They're also leaving out the orcas in the region. That's another thing. I mean, that is quite odd that in these cases the orcas aren't being mentioned, considering they're much more numerous and a bigger problem for everybody. One of the notable results of the study for Blandino was that it showed how species that lived partially on land, like Laysan and black-footed albatrosses, can dramatically impact what happens in the ocean. This little tiny atoll in the middle of nowhere illustrates a really important example of how connected land and sea systems really are. Because of the seasonal source on land, having the ability to completely reshape this entire marine ecosystem. And there is another shark grabbing a poor albatross.
At least it's a good picture this time.
Yeah, it does. Looks like one of those animatronics at an aquarium, but it's an actual shark, so that's really good. Let's see. While the results of Blandino's study were clean, the habitat the animals live in is sometimes messy. So where is that because of all the blood and feathers? So where and when sharks frequent areas likely shifts.
Wait, do sharks like, cats cough up feather balls?
Well, I guess if it's still in them, maybe. I do wonder if they spit out the feathers in this instance. Like the crocodiles don't. In 2018, Trigg Island, where the Galapagos sharks cruised the shallows for monk seal pups in the summer, went underwater. Later that same year, East Island, where the tiger sharks hunted the albatrosses, was temporarily wiped out by a powerful hurricane. Both of those changes occurred after the data for this shark study was collected, leaving scientists guessing about how the sharks responded to such losses. The drowning of Trigg Island might mean the Hawaiian monk seals moved to other sandy islets around the atoll to give birth. Islets. And seabirds from East Island might have moved too. Landino and Meyer think the changes would impact sharks. It would be super interesting to basically recollect a lot of the shark data that we collected in 2009 to see if their use patterns have shifted because of their prey sources having shifted theirs. Hammerschlag said that with such habitat changes, the sharks may have to find new prey. He thinks that large sharks are keystone species whose impacts were hard to show in the past, but that is changing. A key 2024 science study noted that sharks affect ecosystems in diverse ways. Yeah, I don't think that's a new find. Tiger sharks, for example, changing the foraging of sea turtles and dugongs. Dugong is a species of manatee or sea cow in seagrass beds, which allows for more dense underwater gardens, which can influence carbon sequestration. Why does it always have to be carbon? Why doesn't it have to be like, increases the nutrients of the area? Now we're seeing more and more evidence that is demonstrating the important roles they play. And what it points to is what the implications are is the loss of the sharks will have negative consequences. That's funny that we're talking about loss of sharks, and all we keep seeing is albatrosses being eaten by sharks. Um, so yeah, that's was this was quite gory, but very good pictures. So we're going to um, go on to any more. Uh, okay, so just a few seconds. We're going to head on to some more, and we'll be right back. And please put in the comments for any requests, like for in later streams about any prehistoric or current animal topics that you would like discussed. So from boingboing.net, blind rescue possum has been surrogate mom to over 20 orphans. Wow. Possums have
That's
many,
because she can't find them.
yeah, have many pups, but this is, I don't think pups is the term. It's not kittens. Joeys, because they're possums, because, because they're marsupials. Okay. I think it's a Joey.
Oh, wait, I misunderstood that.
What?
She's a surrogate mom. She didn't lose her kids. She has 20 surrogate kids.
Oh, yeah. That is interesting. Wonder how that occurred. Okay, so let's take a deeper look. Well, if this is the specific mother, it looks like she just witnessed a rain. She looks soaked. Or maybe she was just taking a bath. I just found a new possum to obsess over. Meet Mama Odie, like Garfield's buddy, a sweet possum who lives at the Keeper of the Wild Wildlife Rescue and Sanctuary in South Carolina. I was going to, well, of course, it's coming from the South. This is the main part of the North American possum's range. She came to the rescue in 2024 after losing her eyesight in what was probably a dog attack. She had two tiny babies in her pouch when she arrived, likely having lost the rest of her litter. Volunteer Samantha McDougall told the dodo that Mama Odie was mourning after losing her baby. So she tried connecting with her with she tried connecting her with orphan possums that routinely come into the sanctuary's care. Mama Odie immediately embraced them as her own. It's a really beautiful thing to watch. She's such a loving parent for these babies, and something remarkable happened. The day the baby possum arrived at the rehabilitation center, McDougal noticed something unusual about the way Mama Odie was acting. She was making clicking noises over and over, which possums only ever do when they're looking for their mate or their babies. McDougal checked all over Mama Odie's pen to see what she could possibly be looking for, but she couldn't find anything. Then she heard a sound she didn't expect coming from across the room. From the other side of the room, the new baby possum had been calling out to Mama Odie, and Mama Odie was responding. Somehow she and the baby had discovered each other and were now asking to be together. So McDougal decided to try putting the baby with Mama Odie. McDougal put them together. It was, as she put it, a match made in heaven. Mama Odie immediately took in the baby, cleaned him, and cuddled with him alongside her other adopted babies. Since arriving at the rescue, she's been a surrogate mama to more than 20 orphan possums who have been successfully rehabilitated and released into the wild. Mama Odie is still alive and kicking. The rescue posted recent photos of her from New Year's Eve 2025, stating that she's doing well in her old age. She's fond of her plush bed, loves being served healthy meals, and still adores being close to babies as much as possible. You can watch her clicking an orphan across the room and the orphan clicking back.
Why does she live in a cage?
Oh, I thought she had a large area to roam. Yeah, that's what I'm wondering. Is she just simply stuck in a cage, or at least I hope not?
I don't see any bars right in front of her unless they stuck the camera
Hmm. I don't know how old these guys are. So it says, yes, the one that they're introducing to her.
Well, I guess with the babies, if they're up high, she has to be there. Wrong phone.
Okay, let's see if there's anything else that's occurred. I think that's it. Oh, okay. Well, I'm glad that she's been really kind and taking in these orphans. So let's head to the next article from IndianDefenseReview.com. Scientists just found a tiny horned bee with a name as sinister as its appearance. A bizarre new bee species has just been revealed after hiding in plain sight for over 2 decades. With strange facial features and an isolated habitat, this tiny insect could rewrite what we know about evolution and survival in changing landscapes. Uh, okay, so let's see. In the mineral rich landscapes of Western Australia, researchers surveying native flora have documented an unfamiliar insect species. While flora refers to different species of plants, fauna refers to the different species of animals. So I guess they were looking for different species of native plants, and they just happened to come upon this odd insect. The bee, previously unrecorded in scientific literature, stood out not for its rarity only, but for a set of anatomical traits unusual even by entomological standards. Initial fieldwork focused on threatened plant species within the Goldfields region, a semi arid zone where ecological research has gained urgency due to expanding land use. Amid this work, scientists encountered a solitary bee with a distinct facial structure, prompting closer examination. Oh, it's some nodosaur or um, looks like some species of nodosaur. Doesn't have anything to do with this. So over in Western Australia, further analysis revealed a number of features any inconsistent with any known species in the area. DNA barcoding confirmed its novelty, while morphological details pointed to an evolutionary outlier within its genus. Its emergence in a habitat shared with critically endangered flora raised additional ecological questions. The bee has been formally described as Megachile Heterorypus lucifer, a new species within the family Megachilidae, which includes leafcutter and resin bees. As reported in the Journal of Hymenoptera Research, so it's referring to a group of insects. The female of the species possesses a pair of large outward and upward facing horns on either side of the clypeus, a plate on the face just above the mouth parts. These features have not been recorded in other bees from the region. Although some related species within the subgenus Acarapus exhibit minor facial ornamentation, the degree of development in M. lucifer is considered exceptional. The function of these horns remains undetermined. The researchers proposed several hypotheses, including roles in nest construction, floral access, or territorial interactions, but no definitive behavioral link has been established. Hmm. Wow, it's really dark bee. And yeah, that's an odd facial structure. I mean, technically there are many, dark species of wasp, but we're talking about a bee. Actually, it almost has a bit of a, what sort of fly wasp sort of mixture in body structure to it. Interesting feet. No, you could say you can find these types of feet in many species of insects, but I guess because we haven't seen this close up of, the different insects that have popped up recently, it's just really interesting to see. And all of its small hairs. Not too long of antenna. Genetic analysis confirmed that both male and female specimens belong to the same species and did not match any existing entries in global bee databases. Specimens were collected exclusively during the flowering of Eucalyptus lividae, so a species of eucalyptus tree. Because in this area, I believe there are different species of eucalyptus, but there aren't any koalas within this region. They're only concentrated in eastern Australia, suggesting a brief activity season closely tied to the availability of specific plant resources. The bee's known range falls within the restricted distribution of Marianthus aquilinaris, a critically endangered flowering plant. No observations of the bee have been recorded outside this zone, and the lack of historical data complicates estimates of its population or long term presence. So the study identifies M. lucifer as a species of conservation interest, partly due to its close association with plant species under threat. The Goldfields region where the bee was discovered is experiencing intensive land use change from mining and livestock grazing. Um, okay, let's keep going
I do like now how they're adding in livestock grazing
with
with
mining.
mining.
Yeah, I haven't heard of that before. Usually it's like mining that's um, having an impact in different areas, and livestock is far away from that situation because it's not good for your animals to be inhaling that debris. Let's see. Field observations indicate that the bee may act as a pollinator for Marianthus aquilinaris, though its role has not yet been quantified. The overlap in habitat and seasonal timing points to a potentially specialized ecological relationship. a dynamic that, if disrupted, could accelerate the decline of both species. Um, I I don't understand how that would cause a decline in both. Like, is there a problem where I'm confused by that? You can have many different species where their habitats somewhat overlap, not by too much. Either one is taking over the other or taking over more land, um, or the other one's disappearing. So I am confused by that. Environmental assessments in Australia have historically prioritized vertebrates and broad habitat types. Native insects, including solitary bees, are frequently excluded from biodiversity baselines, despite their relevance for ecosystem function. Seriously? They're eradicating the bees from that instance? You can have um, hundreds of different species of bees within a certain area. So this is quite shocking. In the United States alone, there's around 4,000 different species of native bee. So the researchers note that such omissions leave critical gaps in conservation planning. Um, yeah, the narrow detection window during a specific flowering period further complicates survey efforts. Without targeted monitoring, rare insect species may remain undocumented or be identified too late for effective conservation action. The formal description of M. lucifer marks the first addition to the subgenus Acaryopus in more than 20 years. This long gap reflects both the slow pace of taxonomic research on invertebrates and the logistical difficulties involving in surveying remote or environmentally marginal areas. The discovery serves as a reminder that insect taxonomy continues to uncover new species, even in regions once thought to be thoroughly studied. Uh, okay. The study also contributes to a small but growing body of knowledge about morphological variation in female solitary bees. Unusual traits, like the facial horns observed in M. lucifer, are rare and may point to previously unrecognized evolutionary pathways. Further investigation is necessary to understand whether such features are adaptive or vestigial, and what kinds of ecological or pressures may have influenced their development. By integrating traditional morphological analysis, genetic sequencing, and field observations, the researchers offer a multidimensional view of the species biology and ecological relevance. This method highlights the value of combining established and modern tools in biodiversity research, especially for underexplored groups such as solitary bees. I think it's just being a little repetitive at this point. Well, this was an interesting species of bee. Though it seems to be competing possibly with another species. I'm not sure exactly what's going on. I'm going to take a look at the bees in Australia. So let's head over to the next article. From the dodo. Ranger discovers newborn wild baby fighting for his life in a dam. He was freezing cold and soaking wet when a ranger on patrol in South Africa. Okay, well, it mentioned he was freezing cold, so I'm thinking this is somewhere up north in like Canada or um, Russia. When a ranger on patrol in South Africa saw something splashing around in a small dam, he didn't think twice before stepping in to help. Moving closer, he realized a young zebra lay in the water. What? Oh, wow. Okay, so this is really a shock. Okay, so it can get cold in South Africa. You can have it dip to, below 32 degrees Fahrenheit or 0 degrees Celsius. It can get into the 20s, occasionally even colder. You might have it where in the higher altitude regions of South Africa, snowfall will occur every few years. So, um, that's good to see. Stuck and desperate for help, the zebra foal thrashed about. Ranger Bernardo trying to pull the foal out himself to no avail. He called Patronal New Woot, founder and CEO of Care for Wild Rhino Sanctuary, for assistance. New Woot, already out in the field with another animal caregiver, immediately headed towards the dam. Wow, and it's probably wasn't born too long ago either. It's a pretty young foal. When the team arrived, Bernardo was struggling to get the foal on his own. Let's see. This foal was likely only a day old and still very wobbly on his feet. Gosh, a lot of people are here. Now, Rachel Fire, who handles media and communications for Care for Wildlife for Wild Rhino Sanctuary, Using all the strength they had, New Woot and her colleague gripped the slippery zebra and pulled him out of the water. I'm guessing this is one of those water troughs for animals. Dang. It was extremely cold and soaking wet and had likely been in the water for several hours. While he was clearly in shock, he remained calm throughout the rescue. New Woot covered the foal in towel, rubbing his tiny body to dry him off and keep him warm. I'll name him Stripes.
Is he smiling?
Seems that way. I'm guessing they're going to bottle feed him after this. She didn't see his herd anywhere, and she wanted to make sure the zebra was okay, so the team transported him to their sanctuary's intensive care unit. Once inside, New Woot realized the baby was much younger than she initially thought. His umbilical cord was still attached. He had just been born recently. So did she just abandon him? Seems like it. Oh,
A mother could just push it right out.
um, yeah, this is a bit shocking. We believe his mother came to drink and that he slipped in. The mayor would not usually leave a newborn full unless something had gone wrong. Yeah, that's extremely odd. Though hypothermic, the baby had no injuries or water in his lungs. They gave him some sugary milk as he warmed up and regained some energy. Oh, there he is. Interesting. Um, that's a way to recycle. I was expecting those large bottles you give young cows or young rhino calves, elephants. In the meantime, rangers and care for wild rhino sanctuaries conservation technology manager were on the ground and flying drones to locate the foal's herd. Our rangers know the local wildlife extremely well. Different zebra herds have distinct home ranges. And this particular herd often um, drinks at that water point. Okay, so it is one of those man-made water holes to help the wildlife get through the dry season. Considering also in this area they don't migrate very far. Once they located the baby zebra herd, New Woot and an animal caregiver walked the wobbly baby into the area and released him. Oh, so they located it. Hmm. From a distance, they watched as he called out to his mother, and the herd approached him. His mother immediately nuzzled him. He responded to her scent, and he was accepted back without hesitation. Did she not know that she gave birth? In a Facebook post about the rescue, Care for Wild Rhino Sanctuary celebrated this happy ending. As a registered wildlife rehabilitation center, our core purpose is always to return animals safely to the wild whenever possible. Seeing this little foal back with his mother where he belongs was a moment of true joy for the entire team. Um, so did anything do we see the reunion? That is quite shocking. I really thought there might have been some serious health issues. Um Oh, wow. So she's rubbing it all over his fur to help mitigate the scent of the herd. It's really good to see. And they knew specifically it was from the zebra too.
You mitigate the smell of the people.
Oh, right. I meant to say imitate the scent of the herd, mitigate the smell of the people. They'll do this somewhat with Mexican when they were reintroducing Mexican wolf pups, like putting them in a specific cave that they knew was of a specific. Oh, okay. So there he is with his mother. That's really good to see. Um, it was a wolf pack. They had a specific cave, and they stuck in the pups, and they covered them with the scent, and immediately um, the wolf pack adopted them. So that was good to see. Happened a few years back. Okay, well, good to see you coming in from South Africa. Let's head over to the next article. So from india.mongabay.com, study identifies prime brown bear habitats beyond protected areas. Asiatic brown bears, they always have such a fluffy appearance. To them. I don't know what it is, but especially over those over in northern East Asia, like the Mongolian region, or maybe certain parts of Pakistan. Any of the Stan countries, Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, they're so fluffy. So, a systematic survey of the Trans-Himalayan region.
I don't think that means you wanna hug them.
Yeah, no, but he's just so fluffy. Um, Trans-Himalayan region of Ladakh mapped brown bear occupancy and habitat suitability. Valley rangelands in western Ladakh, such as Dras, Suru, Shargol, and Zanskar. Are we in like Pakistan or something? Maybe northern India. I'm guessing Pakistan. Emerged as the species' most suitable habitats with access to vegetation, water, mid elevation, rugged terrain. Okay, let's keep going. The Himalayan brown bear remains poorly studied in its high altitude habitats. Only an estimated 130 to 220 individuals survive across the Himalayas and trans Himalayan ranges of India and Pakistan. I'm um, guessing this is referring to possibly Deosai National Park in Pakistan, which is known for, at least for the Himalayan brown bear population, a decent or one of the more dense populations. However, it could be referring to southern China too, but this sounds like Pakistan. In India, the species is threatened by low population densities and isolated insular groups. This is over in northwestern India. Its true distribution in the trans Himalayan region of Ladakh has long been largely guesswork. A new study covering more than 35,000 square kilometers now fills that gap. It provides the first large scale systematic assessment of brown bear distribution and habitat suitability in the region and generates evidence directly relevant to conservation and development regulation. The trans Himalayan region of Ladakh forms a stark but ecologically rich habitat. Winter temperatures sometimes fall below negative 30 degrees Celsius. Um, that's pretty far down. I'm not sure what it is in Fahrenheit. Vegetation is sparse, and traditionally, agropastoralism relies heavily on shared rangelands. Over the past decade, this region has also been transformed by expanding road networks, defense infrastructure, and renewable energy projects and fast growing tourism. I was expecting restoration of habitat as the complete opposite. So, honestly, that was a bit funny. Western Latch, particularly the upper Suru Valley, Shargol, and Zanskar Valley, is believed to support most of the Himalayan brown bear population. Yet, there had been no landscape level assessment of its habitats or the environmental factors that influence where the species survives until now. Since Himalayan brown bears are elusive, largely nocturnal, and occur at very low densities.
-30 Fahrenheit is -22. I mean, -30 Fahrenheit is -22 Fahrenheit. Negative oh my god, -30 Celsius
Huh,
is -22 Fahrenheit.
that's interesting. I thought it would have been cooler. Um, I guess it makes sense because 0 would start at 32 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay. Well, that's not warm. So let's see. Since Himalayan brown bears are elusive, largely nocturnal, and occur at very low densities, direct sightings are rare. Probably even rarer than the snow leopard in some instances. Consequently, our study involved intensive sign based surveys of tracks, scats, diggings, and direct observations in a systematic fashion. They're traversing through some river. Survey teams walked 4,012 trails to record bear signs. Wow. As part of the first large scale systematic assessment of brown bear distribution and habitat suitability in Ladakh. The landscape was divided into 10 by 10-kilometer grids, each further broken to 5 by 5-kilometer cells to ensure consistent sampling. Survey teams walked 4,012 trails, ranging from about half a kilometer to nearly 7 kilometers, and recorded bear signs using a mobile application called MSTRLPES. Across 2 years, 2019 to 2020, the teams documented 22,530 confirmed brown bear signs, creating a spatial data set for LUTK. I'm not sure if that's a large amount or, I mean, that's good to see. To estimate where the bears are likely present, the researchers used occupancy modeling, a method that accounts for the fact that animals may be present but remain undetected. To complement it, they also employed a species distribution modeling approach called MaxENT that predicts habitat suitability based on environmental conditions at locations where the species is known to occur. Variables including terrain, ruggedness, elevation, temperature, land cover, and proximity to water were analyzed to understand both local scale habitat use and broader landscape patterns. Max ENT highlighted the strong influence of climatic variables in shaping bear habitat. This complemented the occupancy results by allowing broader climate linked refugia that are likely to remain important under future environmental change. Wait a second. Uh, I think really the only major environmental change is what's occurring with the expansion of roads and maybe mines and other things, um, and overgrazing. Across different models, one finding remained consistent. Himalayan brown bear depends heavily on valley rangelands. Areas such as the Dras, Suru, and Zanskar valleys were repeatedly identified as having the highest probability of bear presence. These valleys offer seasonal vegetation, small mammal prey like marmots. That's a species of rodent in the region and reliable access to water, critical resources in an otherwise harsh, resource poor environment. Terrain emerged as another strong influence on bear distribution. The models show that the species prefers moderately rugged landscapes between 3,000 and 4,500 meters above sea level. So this has to be somewhere around 6 to 12,000 feet. No, wait a second, 9 to 12,000 feet above sea level. Such mid-elevation zones provide ideal terrain for denning, foraging, and avoiding human-dominated areas. I still would be at question as to how healthy the just vegetation is in the area. Then, in turn, like what's the rodent distribution like? Rugged slopes and broken terrain are likely especially important for females with cubs, offering secure denning sites during winter dormancy. These areas also tend to have fewer roads and lower human disturbance, both factors that increase the likelihood of brown bear presence. In contrast, even moderate increases in the human footprint sharply reduced habitat suitability, confirming the species' sensitivity to disturbance. Oh, there's a couple right there. They're so fluffy.
Is
Um,
that a cub?
yeah, I think so. I wonder how large these specific, brown bears are. They can't be too big. Maybe the mother weighing somewhere between 300 to 400 pounds, maybe, or, somewhere between, like, 150 to 180 kilograms. No idea about that cub. That's a good shot. Um, let's see. Rugged slopes and broken terrain are considered especially important for female brown bear cubs. Temperature related variables played a key role too in predicting habitat suitability. Areas with high seasonal temperature variation, typical of Western luck, offered the most favorable conditions because such contrasts enable vegetation growth, prey movement, and the availability of denning habitats. Bears also tended to occupy areas with moderate daily temperature ranges, suggesting that microclimatic stability may help them balancing foraging and denning needs in high altitude environments. One of the most striking results was how strongly temperature variation influenced habitat suitability. So let's keep going. When viewed together, the results showed Western lac as the species' stronghold. A smaller, more isolated presence was detected in Nubra Valley, but the study indicates that the connectivity between subpopulations may already be weak. Yeah, potentially isolating groups further. I wouldn't doubt that there's a low genetic, um, just variety presence within the region since there's so few, and they're not even close to each other. The most urgent priority is the protection of key valley systems such as Dras, Suru, Shargol, and Zanskar, which currently support some of the highest quality bear habitat but lie largely outside of protected areas. They also face growing pressure from road expansion, military construction, mining, and unregulated tourism. Habitat fragmentation may restrict the brown bear's access to critical feeding and denning sites because they have large home ranges and move widely across valleys. Engaging local communities equally important. Flatkiss and pastoralists often bear the brunt of livestock depredation and human bear conflict. Reported in the region adds to conservation challenges. Predator-proof corrals, infrastructure development regulations, improved waste management, Regulated grazing and carefully designed ecotourism initiatives could help reduce conflict while safeguarding habitats. Whew, yeah, a lot going on here. We also need reliable population estimates and information on habitat connectivity between valleys, including the identification of potential corridors. Addressing these gaps through long term monitoring, genetic studies, and climate informed modeling will be central to securing the future for the Himalayan brown bear and the Trans Himalayas. I mean, there's definitely a lot of work going on just for gathering the little over 2,000 samples that they obtained from the bears during their huge hikes. So that was good to see. So, um, hope you enjoying this live stream. It's quite interesting, especially with those forest elephants over in Gabon, like wasting the fruit, but really just going after the stems and leaves of those plants. And then the rescued seal pups, the rescued raccoon, as well as the rescued zebra and the goat, especially that zebra being reunited with the herd.
Don't leave out the possum.
Oh, right, that thing. Still confused as its condition, but it seemed relatively healthy. But yeah, taking in 20
Well, it said it
orcas.
was blind.
Oh, right. Okay. So, yeah, I mean, that was pretty good to see. Freaky bee and, what was it? That orange fish with a hole inside of it. So, hope you enjoyed this live stream. And for Prehistoric to Present, my name is Ethan. This is Creature Guy Live Daily News. Remember to like, comment, subscribe if you love talking about animals, and share this show with everyone you know because nothing is better than, oh, animals.